Reverend Graham.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. President.
Well, Billy, I've been having a little trouble reaching you.
Oh, my. Well, I apologize. I've been traveling all over the place.
You know, we've got still got the problems. Wasn't that a horrible thing, those Israelis shooting down that plane?
Especially
I've just been raising the devil about that because, I mean, it was so stupid. It's so stupid. I mean, to shoot down a unarmed 707, good heavens. I mean, that's worse than what they did at the Olympics, the other side.
Well, this will be an embarrassment for her coming here next week, won't it?
Well, I think it is, yes. But, on the other hand, it's going to be her embarrassment, not ours. We didn't do it.
Right.
But we have to have her, of course. And she's... I've urged the Israelis, of course, privately, that they ought not only to express condolences, but to indicate that they're going to pay reparations for this. They just got to do it.
Absolutely.
Just a terrible thing to have happen because...
Things seem to be moving a little bit better. At least from all I read.
Yes. And then bing, they do this.
And here Sadat was moving a little bit to the right, it seemed to me.
Yes. Now this will force him over again.
That's right. It sure will.
Yeah.
You'll have to listen to these extremists on the left.
Yeah, it'll probably stir up for a few days. I don't know, but anyway, we're not going to be. We can't be blamed for what everybody does, but I must. And with Mrs. Mayer, we're going to have to talk pretty straight to her about this sort of thing when she's here.
Well,
now the Israelis, you see, what they do with a thing like this is they lose all of the support that they have in the world, you know.
That's right.
We're their only friends anyway, you know. No other country is their friend anymore. And now this just raises it's just terrible.
There's two other points. One is the front page of papers over the weekend carried the story that they're talking about expelling all Christians from Israel.
Oh, isn't that nice?
And then the second point is that the Jews in this country are just raising a big, in speech after speech. Now, for example, this morning, the front page of the Atlanta Constitution, its third major story on the front page was a rabbi denouncing what is called Key 73. Key 73 is a combination of all the major denominations in the United States, including most Roman Catholics, for the first time joining together in an evangelistic effort. And they are damning Campus Crusade and damning so forth. And Rabbi Tannenbaum is coming down here to see me this week about it. And, of course, they are never calling my name because they know
You're their friend.
I've been their friend, and they know that. But at the same time, they are going right after the church, and there's a great deal of feeling beginning to rise in areas where they've had great friendship.
What'll happen out of this if they don't, you know, what I really think is that deep down in this country there is a lot of anti-Semitism, and all this is going to do is stir it up.
It's right under the surface. And
oh, boy.
Right to the top.
That's right. All of our Jewish friends in here, and like Tannenbaum, you tell him he's making a terrible mistake and that they're going to get the darndest wave of anti-Semitism here if they don't behave.
That's exactly right, and Mark Tannenbaum is probably the most outspoken and the most listened to rabbi in America.
Yeah.
And he's going to come down here this week, and he wrote a letter to the New York Times defending me a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we can swing him over to make some strong statements, it'll have a great effect.
Right.
He's certainly one of the cleverest and most brilliant of the rabbis.
Right. Right.
And it was very much for you this past time. You know, we tried to get him to lead the prayer at the Republican convention, but he felt he couldn't go quite that far.
No. Well, the thing that you really got to emphasize to him, though, Billy, is this anti-Semitism is stronger than we think. You know, it's unfortunate, but this has happened to the Jews. It happened in Spain. It's happened in Germany. It's happening, and now it's going to happen in America if these people don't start behaving.
Well, you know, I told you one time that the Bible talks about two kinds of Jews. One is called the synagogue of Satan. They're the ones putting out the pornographic literature. They're the ones putting out these obscene films.
Like the thing in Time magazine and then Newsweek.
Ruth canceled both of them.
Good for her. But
take Time or Newsweek.
I'll tell you, it's a disgraceful thing, and I think really they don't deserve to live.
And for Time to come out the week of your inauguration with that thing was so...
That's right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the first time they ever covered inauguration without having it on the cover.
And Henry Luce would turn over in his grave.
I'll say he would. I'll say, well...
And they're going to go the same way that life went.
They will, unless they start shaping up.
I was talking to Bunny Alaska. He was down there taking a vacation while we were, and he was telling me about the great amount of advertising that Time has lost over the thing.
They really have.
That's what he said.
Well, they deserve it. They deserve it. The advertisers ought to be sick about this sort of thing. Boy, I'll tell you, privately, we've got to be very strong with these people.
Have a real hair-letting with Rabbi Tannenbaum and find out exactly. And he I think, basically is our friend. And I want to...
You could point out this, that there's nothing that I want to do more than to be, I mean, not only a friend of Israel, but a friend of the Jews in this country, but that I have to turn back a terrible tide here if they don't get a hold of it themselves. And it's up to them.
And they better understand it and understand it quick.
Because there are elements in this country, not just the birchers, but a lot of reasonable people are now getting awful sick of it.
They really are.
Don't you think so?
In the church, too. I think what has happened in the church in the last 2 months is almost, they have almost, these denominational leaders, I'm amazed. They are shaken by all this because they've been so pro-Jewish.
Sure.
And the people that have been the most pro-Israel are the ones that are being attacked now by the Jews. And then to come out...
Can't figure it out.
They're going to kick all Christians out of Israel is unbelievable.
Can't figure it out. Can't figure it out. Well, it may be they have a death wish. That's been the problems with our Jewish friends for centuries.
Well, they've always been, through the Bible at least, God's timepiece, and He has judged them from generation to generation, and yet used them, and they've kept their identity.
Right.
And one of the things they're terribly afraid of is so many of these Jewish young people are turning away from Judaism, turning away from Jewishness. They say they're remaining Jews, but they're becoming followers of Jesus. Well, that's just scaring them to death. You see, they've set up all over the country these Jews for Jesus at the various universities.
Good.
They said they're remaining Jews, but they believe that Jesus was treated wrongly. And this is frightening Jewish leaders, and they're overreacting in this country. I'm talking about the rabbis.
Oh, I know, sure, the professionals, but they're like the Episcopalians. They're losing any appeal to their own people.
Sometime when you have a few minutes, I want to tell you a plan for organizing on a world scale a counterpart to the World Council of Churches.
Now, what about the Catholics?
We don't know. They're going to come in great numbers as observers.
Yeah.
So far, they would not be able to participate, and the Southern Baptists and groups like that wouldn't.
Yeah. The trouble is that
they couldn't anyway.
Yeah, the difficulty too. The Catholics had better shape up a bit too, but they're going to be losing their stroke because
they're divided as the problem.
They're split right down the middle. They sure are. You've got the good guys like Kroll in Philadelphia and Cook in New York, and then there's this bad wing that is the Jesuits are just who used to be the conservatives have become the all-out barn-burning radicals. Well, anyway, we'll see you then on the 1st.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah, and Ruth.
Appreciate you calling.
So, Ruth, we'll look forward to seeing her.
Okay.
All right.
God
Bye.
bless you. Bye.